take a little bit of a look on something we talked about a little while ago. Thought leader and boy genius Tim Pool
Whoopsie.
discovered an attempt by Mayor of Chicago to do something about food deserts in the city of Chicago. And he had a pretty dire warning about what was coming next. And we have an update a little bit on this question of socialized groceries chains.
Yeah, so Reason Magazine is joining the fold based on a Wall Street Journal piece which profiles Dollar Generals and their expansion. And, I driving down to North Carolina a few months ago. Yeah, Dollar Generals are out there. I don't know if we had them in the Dakotas. I think there's some in Minnesota. Maybe there's some
I'm
in
sure you
Dakotas
have them
now.
now in the Dakotas. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
The
And,
fastest
it's a
growing business in America. Sorry, I'm just saying, like, it's important to note, it's the
yeah.
fastest growing business in America, has been for a while now, because it comes in and it provides people with very cheap options, but very unhealthy ones, and also is able to go into poor communities where there is a pretty exploitable labor force. Which is why, particularly like Southern labor groups have been doing a lot of work trying to organize workers of Dollar Tree and Dollar General. Anyway,
Indeed. Yeah,
that's
just
the
to
free
jump in
market
there.
solution to the problem of food deserts. Anyway,
Well, I mean, also kind of creating them too, because where there are grocery stores, they undermine those by saying, we'll get you, we'll handle the Coke and chips. You just handle the veggies. Yeah, and but also this Wall Street Journal piece does say how the workers there are paid more like gas station attendants and grocery. Wall Street Journal readers, they pay for that kind of information because it helps them figure out where to invest. But so yeah, government run grocery store is predictably losing money. The folly of government run grocery stores is sadly not a historical relic of the USSR. Now, again, we need to remind you of a fundamental thing that somehow even gets lost. This isn't just a Tim Pool type amnesia. The reason that these communities don't just decide to do this for fun,
mhm.
DSA hasn't just taken over one of these communities and said, we're going to institute these grocery plans. These are people reacting to the fact that you can't get fucking produce in a grocery store because they're all closing. Because guess what? It is not just going to be the government ones that are unprofitable. It's going to be all of them. That's why they're all closing. That's why they have to think about the logic here is just so fucking unbelievable. And I must admit, it is. I am pleased to see how feeble this attempt is, because it's like, look, another champion comes to with their steed and they're ready to joust. And let's see how real this is. So Eric Boehm, there's a lot of Boehms in North Dakota, but I don't. What bugs me about this is like these motherfuckers give a shit about rural America at all. I think they want to use it to score points, because otherwise you would note that actually food deserts in rural America are a big problem. And it's not just the stupid Kansas municipal grocery store that's losing money that had to come in and fill a gap that wasn't being provided by the market. Chicago's city government is infamously corrupt and unable to provide basic services like education, public safety consistently. But Mayor Johnson is pushing for the city to also try running a grocery store. I will just say, like, there's a little bit of old timey like dog whistling. A lot of governments are corrupt. Like Chicago one, I mean, the Daily Machine, sure. I don't know if like that's. I think that's kind of been dealt with though by like a mayor like Brandon Johnson. Anyway,
Yeah, well, no, I mean, I honestly, is a good point. Johnson is not coming out of the Democratic Party boss machine in Chicago.
exactly.
He was opposed by those forces. So.
Yeah, exactly. This is a little bit, yeah, which have like degenerated from like the time where this was a super relevant reference, which is like honestly waning by the time Obama was running for the first time. It wouldn't be the first government-run grocery store, and not even the first one in the United States, if you could believe that. For some context about what Chicago is planning, the Wall Street Journal dispatched a reporter to check out the municipal-owned grocery store in Erie, Kansas, and these motherfuckers say we're out of touch. Which opened in 2021. How's it going there? Not great. Erie Market, which the city took over in 2021, is losing money almost every month amid stiff competition from Walmart 15 miles away and a Dollar General across the street. Yeah, probably the same stiff competition that drove the other place out of business too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Reports the Journal's Joe Barrett. Erie Market posted just a single profitable month during 2022 and lost $132,000. Maybe Erie's erstwhile grocers didn't realize that, unlike the other government
These guys are so
services.
fucking dumb.
I know, man.
Keep going. I
Maybe
don't
they
want to
didn't
spoil it.
realize, unlike other government services, grocery stores are subject to competition. Bummer. Yeah, man. I mean, again, the same competition that means there just wasn't a store there. But city officials aren't giving up, they tell the Journal. Meanwhile, also, I just want to sidebar there, like this whole Dollar General thing. And then Tim Pool and those motherfuckers accuse us of the ones who want to take your steaks away and want to
Not
make you
just
eat
your
bugs.
steaks, but the ones who wanna fill you up with junk food, right? Because they
Exactly.
do that weird, like,
Exactly.
health right wing thing, yeah.
But city officials aren't giving up, they tell the Journal. Meanwhile, the store's manager says the goal is to lose only $100,000 this year. In other words, maybe Erie should give up. And then here we go. This is what's so great about how there is to the libertarian imagination. To be sure, running a grocery store is tough. Low margin business with tons of competition. Damn, we're getting real business school around here. There's nothing shameful about a brand new business losing money in that environment unless that money belongs to taxpayers, many of whom probably aren't even using the government run store. I mean, this is up for elections. In Chicago, officials envision a city owned grocery store as a way to address food deserts in neighborhoods where privately owned grocery stores had closed and moved away. Rather than trying and inevitably failing to duplicate those services at the public expense, Johnson should instead listen to why the likes of Walmart and Safeway have bailed. Erie is but one of the municipal run grocery stores that we profile. There's another one, I can't remember what the town name is in the panhandle of Florida. And that one was breaking even as recently as this summer. So just something that maybe you would want to know if you were doing a holistic view of this phenomena.
But also geniuses at Reason and Tim Pool and all these folks. The whole point of this argument and this attempt from cities to do this is because the private sector is failing. Because when the private sector deals with a loss like this, they're like, especially a big corporation, they're like, oh, wait, it doesn't matter to us if people in this community have food or not. We're going to shut down and move out. The reason that you have a publicly run grocery store is so that people have access to food, have access to a grocery store, even if the kind of general economic conditions in the town aren't suitable for somebody to make a bunch of fucking money on top of it. The point is that the loss is the investment in making sure that people have a grocery store to buy potatoes at.
Exactly. No, that's just like pure like how you look at the ledger. Because what I'm hearing is you subsidize your folks' groceries, the taxpayers, to a tune of 100K. Cool.
Yeah.
Sure. That's better than going to the fucking Dollar General and I'm doing. What do we want for dinner tonight? Do we want Cool Ranch Doritos, or do we want Funyuns? There's still a little bit more in the psyche to be revealed here, actually. Um, yeah, unless that money belongs to taxpayers, many of whom probably aren't even using the government run store. Now, that is just an assertion, because what if a lot of them are? Then again, that ledger looks a lot better because we're able to buy really good groceries in our community. If like the 1,000 people that live in Erie, Kansas are using it, which I think they are, that's what the local news reports show. In Chicago, officials envision a city-owned grocery store as a way to address food deserts in neighborhood, but rather than trying to inevitably failing, blah, blah, blah. Johnson should instead listen to why the likes of Walmart and Safely have bailed. Oh, yeah, let's just listen to the corporations. Grocery operators have pointed to crime and homelessness as
Mm.
reasons they've needed to invest more in security, driving up costs. Chicago Sun-Times reported earlier. Now, I will hazard a guess, and I do think a lot of these folks underplay how big of an issue violent incidents are in red states and in rural communities, because I think that there's a lot of it. But I would hazard a guess that that's not Erie, Kansas's issue. Is all the crime probably to do with the fact that Americans are poorer than they were expected to be. We've seen a massive swindle of wealth to the top over generations, and now all of a sudden they don't have as much to pay for it. And I want to bring in our boy LBJ now. Better domestically than JFK. JFK, I think, better foreign policy is how I'll say that. But anyway, without getting into that, this is a conversation he had with a guy, George Smathers, who was a Florida senator, and they're talking about Barry Goldwater. here. This is a little bit more deeper economics than you'll get at Reason Magazine, where they're talking about Smathers talks about a grocery store sort of a magnet telling him and say, yeah, we can't have Goldwater be president because he wants to immiserate people and basically do what Reagan did and neoliberalism did, which is to swindle the poor and completely decimate labor. Smathers points out that actually, from a grocery store tycoon's perspective, it's good for a community to have money in their pocket because they're going to come spend it at your place. So here's just a little bit of that conversation.
Overseas and attacking China and a few things like that to go War for, we're going to swing them back.
The main thing that ruined y'all is his economic policies. He's jerking in here and saving $5 to $10 billion.
Now, so he's talking about Goldwater's economic policies. I do want to note one thing here. Unlike Nixon, who let his taping system start automatically and it basically captured everything, which was kind of a problem at a certain point for him, LBJ turned his on when he wanted to. So that he fires it up mid-conversation here means that he either wants a record for this for himself or maybe even wants to use this politically. So I just want to point that out. You have to keep that in mind because LBJ is tricky.
He's jerking in here and saving $5 to $10 billion, and he's pulling out of every foreign country, and he's telling them all to go to hell. And what you do, your export trade that we got a $6 billion surplus of, you'd be backed by God, grass would be going the streets, and these guys wouldn't have this prosperity in these jobs.
Winn-Dixie, I just before talking to you, talking to a fellow named J.E. Davis, who is probably the biggest, most successful businessman in the whole Southland. He owns this big chain of grocery stores, Winn-Dixie and Quick Check and Colonial and so on, the whole thing. Just this minute, got off the phone with him, and he was saying, he said, I tell you what, he said, I'll be damned if I can be for Goldwater. And he said, my whole program, and I do $1.7 billion worth of business a year. And he said, it's based on the democratic type philosophy of economics, see? And he said, we may have a little bit of inflation. Out of hell, I'd rather have a little bit of inflation than to go back to the days where everybody's pulling in, nobody's buying anything. He said it would kill us. And he said,
So I see old Stets Coleman sent him $50,000.
Kind of fucking obvious, right? And so, yeah, we look around us. Reason Magazine likes to occasionally stand in for the common man that's been left behind by the elites. It's this shit, you stupid fuckers, here. They're not having grocery stores because they've been immiserated financially, helping money circulate to the top. And so, like, is there anything else? Oh, yeah. So they go on to talk about crime. They go on to talk about taxes. Again, I don't think property taxes are the problem in Erie, Kansas. I think it's more that it's not worth the capitalists' fucking time to go there and do that for those people. It's crazy.
It's a clear as day example of the failure of their entire philosophy is that the free market is going to be able to solve these problems. We have had decades upon decades of this crisis of food deserts across the United States as working people have continued to struggle under the pro-free market policies of both the Democratic and the Republican Party all across the United States of America. And that is meaning that everything is breaking down. Everything in this country is breaking down, from our healthcare system to even something as basic as food.
Yep.
And this attempt here, also, like, it doesn't patch up, the final problem, right? Which is that we need more money in working people's pockets. We need to cut out these middlemen in general. But yeah, if the free market is going to fail at providing a place for people to go and get groceries so that they can survive and be healthy, yeah, it makes a hell of a lot of sense to have the government come in there and say, hey, yeah, we'll eat $100,000 a year loss if that means that our community can have a fucking grocery store. Why subject all of these people to the personal gratification of some fucking asshole? And if the government of Chicago, if the question at the end of the day, which is implied in this, right, is that the government of Chicago is listening to the people instead of the grocery store chain owners and the Walmart chain owners, that they're not listening to those owners, and they should be ignoring the people. I'm sorry, I'll very happily plant my flag. And it's like, no, I think you should listen to the everyday people instead of the fucking asshole grocery store.
Yeah. I'm doing the math here, and it's not actually that hard of math, but just to let people know, in order to have a fucking grocery store, Erie, Kansas, city of 1,000, to lose 100,000 a year, That is $100 per resident, folks. Like, imagine that as a subscription service. Rebrand that as a fancy little thing that can advertise on podcasts. That's actually not a bad deal.
$10 a month.
I mean, Christ. And the idea that it's just, again, like, this is why you can tell these, snakes don't care about these people that they're talking about is, yeah, you think it's just the ones, the public ones that are having issues. We have to keep underlining none of these communities would be considering doing this in the first place if they were adequately served by capitalist owned grocery stores. And that is such a failing. And so he wraps this up. But what's happening in Erie, Kansas, and what could happen on an even larger scale in Chicago is a useful reminder that the folly of government run grocery stores is sadly not a historical relic like the USSR. Yeah, bro, because it's not this form that you only seem to care about, where it's if it's government run shelf and that goes empty, a government run store that that fails. That is something that you like. I mean, it's like fucking Alexander Solzhenitsyn over here. And then all these people like just not served at all by capitalists. All these grocery stores like, yeah, I guess we just can't afford this. Or I'm retiring because I'm 85. I've been running the grocery store here forever. And like my kids don't want to do it because this shit ain't good money. That's as big of a failure. I feel that way about when those people go hungry or those people have to eat Pringles because there's not like a fresh deli. Like it's sickening. And then again, like Tim Pool, bro, to be the one that you're the one who wants everyone to eat bugs and eat trash and take steaks away from people. Yeah, all right. How good are the steaks at Dollar General that the market's providing?
Number one jokers, or as Aaron Brown calls them, the newsmen.